Welcome back. The story of Dragonflight sets us up for something massive. One of the major bad guys, Iridikron, got out of this expansion alive, and he will be back. Iridikron found the Dark Heart in Dragonflight, which he later gave to xal'atath, and she is going to use it in the Midnight expansion. So, how did we get here? This story starts with the Titans. These are colossal beings who shape worlds. The Titans created 9 Keepers, and they left Azeroth in the care of these Keepers. One of these Keepers is called Tyr, and he is the only one that we need to know about for this story. Now, tens of thousands of years ago, there were proto-dragons living in Azeroth. These dragons had evolved from primal elements. Keeper Tyr was impressed by 5 of these proto-dragons, and the Keepers infused these 5 proto-dragons with Titan powers so that they could help to safeguard Azeroth. They became the Dragon Aspects. Alexstrasza to protect life, Neltharion, or Deathwing as we know him, to protect Earth, Malygos to protect magic, Ysera to protect nature, and Nozdormu to protect time. But not all of the proto-dragons actually wanted this. Some of the other proto-dragons thought that this transformation with Titan magic was an aberration. They believed that dragonkind should stay unchanged and embrace elemental energies instead of Titan magic.
Our flights embraced the Titan's gifts. They did not.
Some proto-dragons discovered how to infuse themselves with elemental power, making themselves the Primal Incarnates. Raszageth the Storm Eater, Iridikron the Stone-Scaled, Viranoth the Frozen Heart, and Farak the Blazing. There was a war between the Primal Incarnates and the Dragon Aspects. Neltharion, the Black Aspect who we know as Deathwing, feared that this war was coming, so he created soldiers called Drakthir. He controlled them with a Titan artifact called the Oathbinder, but he didn't have time to perfect his army. Raszageth struck first, starting the war. She attacked the Forbidden Reach and destroyed the Oathbinder. Without the Oathbinder, Deathwing could not control the Drakthir. He panicked. And this is where things went wrong. Deathwing submitted to Old God Whispers for the first time, and he used dark power to banish Raszageth to a prison on the Forbidden Reach. He then put the Drakthir into stasis. The war between the Dragon Aspects and the Primal Incarnates raged for centuries. The Incarnates were defeated, but Alexstrasza couldn't bring herself to kill them.
Why were they not destroyed?
I hadn't the heart to do it. We were once as clutchmates.
So instead of killing them, Alexstrasza imprisoned the Primal Incarnates in the Vault of the Incarnates. Now, you've probably heard about the Sundering. Azeroth used to be one big continent, but it was shattered into separate continents. With this, Azeroth weakened. The Dragon Isles went dormant as magic drained from the land. The Dragon Aspects shrouded the Isles to protect them, and left their homeland. Titanforge were left behind, and would light the beacon to recall the Aspects when the land awakened. And the Drakthir were still in stasis. So that's where we are when Dragonflight starts. Azeroth is now recovering. The elemental powers are returning to the Isles, the beacon has been lit, and everyone sets off to explore the Dragon Isles. With the return of these elemental powers, some primalists have invaded the Dragon Isles. They stormed the Forbidden Reach and freed Raszageth from her prison. This disturbance woke the Drakthir from stasis. 2 groups emerged, one led by Scale Commander Amberthal, and one led by Scale Commander Sarkareth. They were shocked to learn that their aspect, Neltharion, or Deathwing, was dead. Sarkareth felt that they had been abandoned for 20,000 years. And with Deathwing dead, he no longer wanted any part of the Dragonflights. Instead, he set off to find Deathwing's legacy. Raszageth attacked across the Dragon Isles, trying to free the other Incarnates. Back in Cataclysm, to destroy Deathwing, the Dragon Aspects had to sacrifice their powers. And now, without those powers, the Aspects realized that they were powerless against the Primal Incarnates. They needed to restore their titanic powers.
And renew the 5 Oathstones. And through their unity, our absent power shall be restored.
So they set out to relight the Oathstones. Alexstrasza thought that re-engaging with each Dragonflight would result in their powers returning. So off we went and did a whole bunch of quests. In the Waking Shores, Wrathion, which is one of Deathwing's sons, recovered fragments of the shattered Black Oathstone and reformed it. The Ruby Oathstone was restored when long-lost black dragon eggs were returned to the Ruby life pools. In the Anaran Plains, Merithra, that's Ysera's daughter, worked with the Centaurs to restore the Green Oathstone. In the Azure Span, Kaligos reignited the scattered blue dragons and restored the Blue Oathstone. In Threldraxxus, Normandu defeated the Infinite Dragonflight and restored the Bronze Oathstone. With all the Oathstones restored, Alexstrasza went to the Mother Oathstone to reclaim their Titan powers. But nothing happened. Raszagath watched and laughed. She mocked them that the Titans had abandoned them. Then she headed to the Vault of the Incarnates to free the other Incarnates. Our favourite mage, Khadgar, and the Blue Dragon aspect, Caligos, led forces inside. We defeated Raszagath, but before she died, she did free the other 3 Primal Incarnates, Farak the Blazing, Virinoth the Frozen Heart, and Iridikron the Stone-Scaled. These Incarnates didn't rush in though. Iridikron wanted to gather his power first. So they travelled to the Forbidden Reach, where Iridikron retrieved an ancient relic from Neltharion's vault. It resembled the Dragon's Soul. This was an item that the Aspects used to defeat Deathwing, but this one was even more ancient. A prototype, perhaps. It contained the location of Aberrus, Deathwing's secret laboratory. Now remember that Sarkareth was seeking Deathwing's legacy, so he secretly followed the Primal Incarnates. The Incarnates found an entry to Zaralet Cavern, right beneath Veldraken. They broke through the earth and sent Farak down to claim the elemental power below. Farak found the shadow flame that had powered Aberrus, that's Deathwing's laboratory, and he infused himself with it. The shadow flame made Farak crueler, more unhinged. Meanwhile, Sarkareth tried to reforge the Oathbinder in order to control the Drakthir. Amberthal destroyed the broken artifact, but Sarkareth used its remains as a key to enter Aberrus. Inside Deathwing's laboratory, he witnessed the horrific experiments, failed attempts before the Drakthir eventually succeeded. He saw the legacy he'd been chasing, twisted, dark. But instead of turning away, Sarkareth infused himself with void magic, seeking ultimate power. We defeated Sarkareth with Rathian and Sibelian. Rathian and Sibelian chose a bit differently. They rejected Deathwing's pass, and elected Abyssian, another of the Black Dragons, humble and uncorrupted, to be the new Black Aspect. For the first time since Neltharion's betrayal, the 5 Dragonflights were united. Meanwhile, Iridikron travelled back in time to the corpse of an ancient dragon. He drained its primal essence and empowered the Dark Heart. Back on the Dragon Isles, Farak set his sights on Amirdrassil. This was a new world tree that had been growing in the Emerald Dream. You see, after Teldrassil was burned to the ground, the Night Elf souls who died became a seed. Torunda, the Night Elf leader, took the seed and planted it in the Emerald Dream, where it grew into the new world tree Amirdrassil to replace what was lost. Anyway, the Shadow Flame corruption drove a wedge between Farak and Virinoth. When Farak revealed that he planned to corrupt Amirdrassil with Shadow Flame, Virinoth was disgusted. She warned Alexstrasza of his plan. She sided with the Dragon Aspects. Farak struck a deal with the Druids of the Flame, and he tore into the Emerald Dream. Now Marithra, we haven't spoken about her yet, but she is the daughter of the Green Dragon aspect Ysera. And Marithra led the Green Dragonflight in defense of Amirdrassil. Ysera, the Green aspect, had returned from the Shadowlands to help, but she was no longer connected to the dream as she once was. She told Marithra it was time for someone new to lead. Torunda and the Night Elves defended the World Tree. Virinoth sided with the Aspects, and all the Dragonflights united for a final stand. The Dragon Aspects confronted Farak at Amirdrassil. He was killed before he could complete the corruption. Amirdrassil bloomed. The World Tree crossed from the Emerald Dream into the physical world. And Azeroth herself, that's the planet itself, restored the Aspect's powers. Marithra became the new Green Aspect, the Dreamer. Virinoth became the 6th Aspect, the Aspect of Storms. After Farak's death, Iridikron sent a message to Virinoth. He condemned her for abandoning the Primalist cause. She countered that he had abandoned them for some trinket that Neltharion left behind. It was here that Iridikron revealed that the Dark Heart was now with the Harbinger. He trusted the Void's hunger to remove the Titan stains from the world. So essentially, Iridikron was playing the long game. He was powering up the Dark Heart so that he could give it to xal'atath. He knew that the Void would want to wipe out the Titans, and wiping out the Titans is what Iridikron has wanted all along. So the Night Elves ended up settling at Belameth, beneath Amirdrassil. The Dragonflights were restored and united. And that's the story of Dragonflight. I think the main problem with this story is that they don't seem to tell us, the players, what motivates the villains to be villains. It's actually a pretty good story. The same way that we don't like it when the old gods corrupt things. Well, the Primal Incarnates view the Titan's magic in the same way. They see it as corrupting the natural way of things. It kind of makes sense, but it never really gets told that way in the game, does it? Anyway, Iridikron is out there, and in his own words, he'll be back to help xal'atath wipe out the Titans. The Dark Heart is now in xal'atath's hands, and we'll see what she does with it in the next one. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.